prime entity, the primal entity, thus developing the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So here Prabhupada is showing his broad vision because he's the idea within the members, so that's for his, the followers, but also humanity at large. So it wasn't like there was going to be an exclusive program going on with Prabhupada. It was inclusive of all persons. So through the congregational development, like with your model here, what you're doing, how you're preaching, the participants establish close bonds of friendship and rendering service together. And I was very happy to meet my god sister, Malati, Devi, Dasi, and she commented that the devotees are so nice here. They're always speaking so nicely about each other. So I was, immediately thought of this here, that we're coming closer together, so you help each other, and there's a close bond of friendship through rendering service, so fulfilling this aspect of the different steps Prabhupada outlined. So the congregational development, it's not complete without having some programs for the children. Grooming the children of the congregational devotees, because why? It sounds like we're repetitive, and these children are our future, but this is a fact. And they have to be taught. It's not like one day they'll wake up and turn, a particular certain age and, okay, now we're ready to go. They have to be trained from the very beginning. And they have to feel part of this. They have to feel included in the mission in such a way that as they grow older, and even at a young age, they want to preach. Sometimes now they don't like to use the word preaching. It's considered maybe possibly politically incorrect, but that's what Prabhupada did. And if done in the right consciousness, it's very effective. So Prabhupada used to give the example of my daughter, that when she was young, obviously, because anyone can preach, to even a child. Look at Miss Saraswati Devi. She goes up to people and she says, "Do you know who is Krishna?" And then she proceeds to tell them the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the children can take part. In ISKCON Silicon Valley, the children are going out on book distribution, hopefully with their parents close at hand. I'm sure they are, I hope. But, that mood, they're being trained. They're being given a sense of purpose and a connection with the mission. So Sunday school, youth clubs are, integral, important components of congregational development. And through devotional service to Krishna with each other, then our eternal relationship with Krishna will also become revealed. So then the fourth statement is that to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God is rendered into teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So by encouraging the congregational development means expanding the congregation, and the members are not only encouraged to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly ourselves, we have our 16 rounds, but also to share this with other persons in our circle of influence. And because you're, grihastas, many of you are employed, and that's your place of employment. Of course, you can't come in with kartals and mridanga and hari boli, but, you naturally make friends, and you talk about what you do, and when it's appropriate, you can invite them, like we have a little get-together of like-minded people. You seem like you might be interested in this, come in, and give prasadam, so like that, in your circle of influence. So then, in the very beginning, all members of the congregation are engaged in serving the Sankirtan movement. So then the fifth one is to erect for the members and for society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Godhead Krishna. So how you all can do this, of course, in the absence, hopefully when you get your temple. But in the meantime, you help with different projects, ISKCON projects, and this is a project also through your different attempts to preach and book distribute, etc. But, like right now, there's a TOVP, something that's very unifying, and assisting in different ways. So then to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. So once all of the congregation members become close friends and develop spiritual bonding, which is natural if people are coming together and on a regular basis. So you become friends and there's spiritual bonding. Hi Krishna, here's a brownish, right? Endangered species. Then naturally you try to create community. You've got your friendship, so then it expands and you have community among yourselves to assist and fulfill each other's spiritual and material needs based on Prabhupada's teachings of simple living and high thinking. And then the simplicity of lifestyle, it naturally flows from the strong connection to Krishna and his service over time through this association of each, between yourselves. So, then he wraps it up with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes. So everything is just those 6 purposes. How do you do this? He talks publishing and distributing periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. So we all know that Srila Prabhupada received his direct order from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, if you ever get money, print books, publish books. And I recently came across a letter from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta to Srila Prabhupada, where this was also mentioned again. So that was a theme that didn't change. It wasn't like he just said that once and like a passing thought. It was a firm instruction. So the congregational members, once trained and properly guided, directly and indirectly in many ways, enthusiastically distributed Srila Prabhupada's books. Very, core to the mission. And Srila Prabhupada wasted no time in engaging the members of the movement in book distribution once the books started getting printed. The early devotees, remember, suddenly, we were used to not having books. And suddenly here were books, and they were big books, like real books, not just a few pages, put together. And imagine how to go out there and get someone to take the book. It was just, bewildering. And on top of that, there was like a big warehouse full of books. It wasn't just like we had a couple boxes of them. But because the devotees wanted to do this for Prabhupada, they wanted to do what he was requesting. They were empowered by Lord Krishna to find many innovative ways to distribute books in all kinds of situations. And there has been a great revival of book distribution in the past 3 years, largely due to Vaisheshika, I have to say. He's been really, not just in areas, but the entire, North America, USA and Canada. And last year, it was the largest year ever for book distribution in the BBT. Some people, critical-minded ones, it's not like it used to be. Okay, no, we don't go out in vans and live in vans so much anymore. There's a few parties out, but wow, people are out there in little, standing at a table in front of a shop, for example, in the colleges, and finding, going to their offices and other offices and, actually distributing not a book, but boxes of books, really innovative and sincere attempts to distribute the books. And Prabhupada was results oriented. he encouraged devotees, but what was the question he'd ask? How many books did you distribute? How many, you've been out preaching, probably been out preaching. How many devotees did you make? He asked. He wanted to know. In other words, he wanted to make sure we were getting something in return for our efforts. And the return would be in the numbers of books distributed and the number of devotees. So these steps here are ways for devotees to, and especially congregational members, to find a way out of the forest of illusion, because these are wonderful activities for everyone, but especially in a situation where you don't have your actual, regular established building, then your temple is the temple of the heart that expresses itself through these wonderful activities. So wherever you stand, wherever you do a harinam, wherever you do a book distribution, that becomes your temple. Because Krishna explains wherever his glories are being chanted, heard, or sung, that place becomes a sacred place. The temple is a sacred place. So this room on other days, or maybe some other activities obviously are going on, but on Saturday evenings, here's a sacred space. Here's the temple of the Lord. And so the other verse that follows this, we have to practice. It's not like you're going to hear this once, remember it, and walk out and have some enlightenment. But it says only by practicing. And how do you practice? What do you practice is unalloyed devotional service. And Krishna says, how? With full faith in me. So, by engaging in devotional service, then one becomes purified. And what do they get purified from is a contamination, a low birth. But the low birth was described as not being one by social status, economic status, educational status, but the status of one's spiritual enlightenment or not. And then in the next verse it explains that neither religious activities endowed with honesty and mercy, nor knowledge obtained with great penance can completely purify one's consciousness if they're bereft of loving service to me. So all these things sound pretty good. We want to be honest. We need to be merciful. And, with that penance means some endeavor at a, you make an endeavor, but there's some discomfort associated with it, and you do that willingly in order to obtain something. So these activities in of themselves, even if they're religious, if they're pious religious, truthfulness, mercy, penances, and knowledge, having knowledge, they can only partially purify one's existence. And therefore, they, in and of themselves, cannot actually completely purify the consciousness. And the reason is because they're bereft. They don't include loving devotional service to Krishna. And as a result, even though you may do some great austerity and penance, look at Hiranyakashipu, what a great austerity and penance he underwent. And then he got that incredible, so-called benediction, which was a wonderful benediction from Lord Brahma, that was his ultimate undoing. But what was the problem there? Is that the root of material desires was not extracted. So, even after there's an extensive program of material qualification, one can actually become eager to perform some austerities, to get some knowledge, do some selfless work, to do some pious activities. But it doesn't result in permanency, and it doesn't result in a connection with Krishna. So that's the flaw of these activities on their own. And then it's an example given, like, you take a field and you want to clear it for agriculture. So you plow it up, you pull out the weeds, you plant your crops, everything is going pretty good. And then the rain comes, and along with the rain comes all the weeds come back again. You know. So pure devotional service to the Lord uproots the material desires, so there's no danger of relapsing into material degraded life. And so until you come, until we get to that level, then we'll have to remain on some platform in the material world. And what is the problem with that? Because even, sometimes people are thinking, well, I know now that I understand the material world's temporary, and I know what some of the dangers are, I think I can negotiate and be kind of comfortable. That's kind of like, first you don't know and you put your hand in the fire, so, oh, wow, that hurt. But you still, for some reason, think, okay, let me try another angle. Just burning your hand, The real solution is don't stick your hand in the fire, keep out. So in the same way, we have to get out of this desire to enjoy in the material world. It's not going to, you might, and what if, you stick your hand out in the fire, you pull it out, and you feel what? A little moment of relief. And you put it back in. Oh. It's like, so what is this moment of relief? It's called in the material world happiness. Right? But is that happiness? No, the material world means discrepancies, contradictions, and everything is therefore incomplete and imperfect without the loving service of Sri Krishna. So that is what the Krishna consciousness movement is offering to humanity at large. All these other activities, it's just like when they cannot please Krishna because they're not being done for his pleasure. Even if one repeats prayers, great prayers are great prayers, but they don't repeat, because there's wonderful prayers that are in the Vedas, or if you're a Christian in the Bible, but they're not always directed at glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in order to actually please Krishna, one has to repeat prayers that were offered by great personalities, great devotees, of the Lord. And then this gets one's consciousness accustomed to, along with obviously the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. But this gets one's consciousness accustomed to associating with Krishna. And for us, the great austerity is the constant chanting. Although we know it is the only way, the only way, the only way, sometimes we allow other things to get in the way. And we wonder, when am I going to get enlightened by this chanting so that the tears are falling from my eyes? And do I really want tears falling from my eyes? I mean, how will I see? And the hair standing on end, might that be a little embarrassing and rolling on the ground in ecstasy? I remember Prabhupada was telling us all these really esoteric things, Lord Chaitanya erupting with, horripilations and his skin, hair standing on end and blood coming out of his pores. And we were just like, wow, that's, we couldn't imagine it. And I was realizing, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, still can't imagine this, symptoms of total ecstasy. But that's that's something we would want. But how do we get that? By serving Krishna, pleasing Krishna, putting our hand in Krishna's fire. Otherwise, much endeavor can be, like Lord Rama, he went through the big austerity, he got his wish, but look what happened. And then the Prachayas, they actually wanted to attain the Lord's favor. But there they were for 10,000 years, severe austerities underwater, you know. Prabhupada made a comment, he goes, doesn't seem like a happy endeavor, you know, underwater for 10,000 years. And he explains, you know, serious students of spiritual life undergo such austerities to attain the Lord's favor. So when that happens, then the devotees, they forget all the hard work. You know, so maybe sometimes we're worried, like, it's so difficult, you know, and even to come to that one day a week, it's difficult. But then, you know, the kirtan starts, the devotees are together, and you forget about the difficulty. Sometimes devotees in their efforts to start temples, begin yatras, you know, wasn't always smooth going, even between themselves, and Prabhupada would be coming, and they'd be thinking, when Prabhupada gets here, I'm going to tell him this, I'm going to tell him that, I'm going to tell him who did what. And Prabhupada would come, and the devotees would just like melt in ecstasy, wonderful kirtan, and Prabhupada would look around, everybody would smile and go, is everything all right? And the devotees said, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Totally forgot all the, you know, all the things, all the, you know, the hard efforts, the troubles that they thought they had, you know. So, you know, our sacrifices to Prabhupada were, what was the reward? Was his smile. Prabhupada just glanced and smiled. And all the hardships were forgotten. Is everything all right? But difficult austerities, such as 10,000 years under the water, that's not for the fallen souls of Kali, you know. And Krishna is so kind, he gives us a much easier method, you know, to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And even then, somehow or other, we don't have full attraction. Lord Chaitanya mentions that also. We're sort of like a man fallen overboard. We've fallen off the cruise ship. Somebody's handing us a rope and we ignore it. You know, this is Kali Yuga. But just like the Chetas, when they were under the water, 100 of them, they were united in Krishna consciousness. They had that single goal, please the Lord. Although each one was an individual person. The Prabhupada explains that real unity and comes through this effort to please Krishna. You know, if we just keep that in mind, so then you can say, okay, but I'd like to please him this way, he wants to please him that way, and, you know, there's a conflict. Actually, this kind of disunity, Prabhupada pointed out, this would also occurs within ISKCON. He said, but he said that's just due to the inclination towards material things. So as much as we have those inclinations, our unity will be disrupted. But still, he said, actually in Krishna consciousness, there can't be two opinions. So even though it may externally appear, well, you're thinking this, you're thinking that, and, you know, it's all for Krishna, but I think my way is going to work, and you think your way is going to work, and then we get in conflict. But actually, there can't be two opinions. There's only one goal. So the goal is the same, serve Krishna to the best of the ability. And if, he said, if there is some disagreement, then it should be taken as spiritual. That those who are actually engaged in the Lord's service can't be disunified under any circumstance. When we get into that kind of situation, you know, sometimes it happens, then if we remember like that, that, you know, actually we make Krishna happy by being willing to come together in service. And that may mean at certain times, okay, I think my idea is better, but it'll be a lot more harmonious if I just go along. So, good intelligence means going back home, back to Godhead. And Krishna assures us that those who are constantly devoted to me, that with love, with love, that I'll give them the understanding in which they can come to me. So we have this wonderful assurance from Krishna that if we keep on with our endeavors, that there will be success. And Pandit gives us a nice analogy. If there's within the forest, so we will find a forest, within that forest is one fragrant tree. The whole garden, the whole forest will be very nicely aromatic. Like today I was taking a walk in my mother's neighborhood, and I suddenly started smelling something very nice, which, even in a little suburb, it's not too far from here, it's like 10 minutes from here. But, it's really nice. And then I saw that, I kept trying to follow that aroma. And it was a jasmine. It's a big, big, beautiful jasmine, all happy in bloom. So that one jasmine tree was giving a very nice aroma for the whole area. So in the same way that will happen. So then, similarly, a good son makes the entire family auspicious. So Srila Prabhupada was that good son of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he created auspiciousness for all of us and for the world at large, for humanity at large. That it is actually our duty and our good fortune. It is our duty to continue this mission on his behalf, and it's our good fortune to be able to do so. Otherwise, we will be forever going around and round in the forest of illusion. So by following the simple principles, chanting offenselessly the Mahamantra, and going out and trying to give others Krishna consciousness, we obtain auspiciousness in our life, and we distribute auspiciousness to others. So then, just like one little jasmine tree created a nice situation, if you magnify each one of you making an endeavor, then there is a magnified situation of auspiciousness. And there is only one auspiciousness, and that is through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and serving Lord Krishna. Other activities are there, and they are necessary, but we shouldn't see them as contrary to our Krishna consciousness. We should perform all of our activities, particularly in our Grihastha ashram. The Grihastha ashram is can be a very powerful fortress for Krishna consciousness. And every activity within the house and outside the house offered to Krishna, then it fortifies the ashram and gives an opportunity for the family, friends of the family, and etc. to become Krishna conscious. And when you take a whole group of people like that, then it can become very influential. It's like the original, like they call the Hare Krishna explosion. Initially there weren't that many of us, but it seemed like there were so many of us, because one reporter was expressing how he went to Portland, Oregon, and he kept seeing the Hare, like they'd be out there in the morning during rush hour chanting, distributing books. And then there they were in university at lunch hour, just chanting, distributing books. And then in the evening again. So he thought there was just like a huge amount of devotees there. And of course it was expanding, but what he didn't realize, and he came to realize, it was the same people. They were just so, as they say, fired up. So they were just going out there and out there. So naturally, when you have to clock in yourself, you can't maybe do on that level, but certainly you can take advantage of the opportunities that Krishna provides. And if each one teaches one, then Krishna consciousness can and will certainly flourish. And I'm waiting for the day that you invite me to come to Sacramento for the grand opening of your new temple. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. We don't need great, big, huge. Our mission is preaching and teaching. So you don't need the, marble palace. It can be simple. But a place, a place where you can invite people to come to, and then there's a regular daily program going on, very powerful. It can be a building as simple as this. Our initial temples were as simple as this. But, preaching and teaching. And then there's expansion. So, by practicing unavoided devotional service with full faith in me, one can attain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am naturally dear to my devotees, who take me as the only goal of their loving service. By engaging in such pure devotional service, even the dog-eaters can purify themselves from the contamination of their low birth. Of course, we're not dog-eaters, but we're fallen conditioned souls. So even a dog-eater can become, we'll just speak of ourselves, There's a lot of hope in that verse. So, time for Archie. Any questions or points you want to bring up? Yes.
So can you please explain from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, how he handled devotees, two different opinions to serve Krishna? How he handled, Srila Prabhupada, how he handled two different opinions to serve Krishna?
Yeah. The thing is, with Prabhupada's presence, there may be two different opinions, but when they would come in front of Prabhupada, the opposition mood was gone, and the cooperation mood emerged. So the idea is to always remember you're in front of Srila Prabhupada. It's natural there may be some conflict, because we aren't pure devotees and we are in the material world. That may arise. But we need, if we quickly adjust our mentality, being right doesn't make you right if you make someone else or everyone else miserable. So we want to please Krishna, and that is anybody here not want to please Krishna? So keeping that in mind is really pivotal. And just keeping in front of, what would I say if Prabhupada was right in front of me? Would I be acting like this or not, So just consider that. And try to respect the other person, even if you don't agree with their particular point of view in terms of how you might want to do something. We have to remember, this person is trying to serve Krishna. And not try to, put a thermometer gauge and let's see where he's at, or she, If there's a serious conflict, then you should bring it to another devotee who's neutral and ask for their assistance.
So, Motherji, Hare Krishna. If you move here, then we'll have somebody like Prabhupada.
I cannot afford to live in California. It's like a really costly place.
This may be too detailed to be asking now, and maybe it's way premature, but I have seen, as I've looked online for different images of Lord Nrsimhadev or Sri Sri Gauri Thai or Radha Krishna deities, that it'll say whether it is an ISKCON style or ISKCON approved murti or not. And I wanted to know what distinguishes it, or is this a question for
The what?
For an ISKCON, I've seen where it describes murti.
Yeah, and I got that part. What was the question?
The question is, what makes a murti ISKCON style or ISKCON approved?
The mode of worship, and obviously, if it's Radha and Krishna, Gauri Thai or Jagmasubhadra Dev, that would be a pivotal point. We don't worship demigods, we honor and respect them. But, of course, what I call the PPS, post-Prabhupada syndrome, some persons have become so elevated that they think they can sneak a demigod in and it's okay, but actually, our temples are strictly Radha Krishna, Gauri Thai. and Jagannath Baladev. If there is some, demigod present, the way to serve that demigod is that you serve Radha and Krishna, or Nitai, Jagannath Baladev, you offer them prasadam, and then you take that prasadam and you offer it to the particular demigod. So that is the proper method of doing that. And otherwise, you can ask Govinda Priya, because she is certified from the Mayapur Academy of Deity Worship Training, and she can, give you a lot of information on details of deity worship as the standard is in this one.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have a question that is appropriate. So I'm a new devotee. Mataji, I get
Sure, a devotee. I'm not even the devotee, and I'm sitting
sorry.
here. That's why I don't like water around me. I'm sure you're gonna knock it over.
Mataji, I get two kinds of advices. One, you have to take chances if you want Krishna. That means you need to take some. And second is, know your limitations and play safe. Know your limitations, don't be arrogant, and don't do things that you cannot do. So.
Well, I don't understand the second one, but I understand the first one. We don't know what we can or cannot do for Krishna because we haven't tried yet. Prabhupada often gave us what you could say were mission impossible tasks. But we never thought of it so much that way. We just went for it. And sometimes there was success, sometimes there wasn't. But when there was success, we knew it wasn't from our own doing. It was because we were empowered by Srila Prabhupada. Our doing was that we simply accepted the order or the desire to serve him. But from that acceptance came the empowerment. Otherwise, some of the things, like he asked me and my husband to adopt the girl, this young girl. She was 16 and I was 22 and he was 24, almost 25. Now, you can see the age difference wasn't so great. We took the mother to court and gained custody of this girl. I mean, totally unheard of. This is California, where they're very big on keeping the child with the family no matter what. So we were not even 10 years older than her. But Prabhupada had the idea, her brother asked if, what could be done for the girl because she wanted to become a devotee. The mother, it was a very sad story, home life. When the girl was born, the mother just walked out of the hospital and left her there. So, that was the start of it. Didn't get much better. But, just Prabhupada, and brother said, what can be done for Sarah? Prabhupada, he said, well, perhaps Malati and Shamsundar can adopt her. We didn't think, but we're so young. The next day I just went down to the courthouse, found out what to do, and started the proceedings. It's just based upon Prabhupada's suggestion. So your desire to serve will nullify your second question, your limits. You don't know what they are. Now, of course, let's be on, another level. Let's say I'll use something. I don't know how to swim. That's a fact. And maybe if somebody puts me up on an Olympic diving board and says, here, dive in, I'll probably drown, But when you do something, when you're offered to do something for Krishna, not just for some whatever reason, but for Krishna, and you're sincerely trying to do that for Krishna or for your spiritual master, you become empowered by Krishna. And you do things that you would not normally consider possible. So that's what I mean when I say you don't know what your limits are.
So you're suggesting, Mataji, I keep pushing it, right? Is that what I
Well, keep conscious. Don't just do something that you don't know what like kind of, blindly. We weren't blind followers. We were sincere followers. There's a little difference. Although it may have looked, like we would just do these things, which we did do. but it was with a sincere determination to please Srila Prabhupada.
Thank
You know, like, we all want Krishna. Like I asked, does anybody not want Krishna? Nobody raised their hand. At the same time, I can ask another question. Do you sometimes want sense gratification? Yeah, we can raise our hands. Yeah, sometimes Krishna, a little bit, you know, it's happening. So, you know, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta said, you know, most of us are like in between. That's our condition. You know, we actually do want Krishna, but, you know, a little bit over here, we want that. So we have to, you know, be aware of that and, you know, learn how to make that desire for sense gratification turn into desire for Krishna. I was just reading in the Petramita, which is a little booklet of letters from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. So I was in New Vrindavan. It was just like last week. And somebody had given me a piece of cake prashadam. And it wasn't carob. It was fake carob. And so at the end of the day, I'm sitting, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I had this ice cream that was in my refrigerator since like before I went to India, which was like at the end of January, so it's been there a while. But that would be nice with this piece of fake carob cake. I put the ice cream and I'm sitting there and I'm reading Patramita, you know, this is letters of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. And I read that one line, what I just told you, know, so yes, you want Krishna, yes, you want, you know, some sense gratification. I looked at my plate and I said, oh my God. Cake and ice cream, Krishna sense gratification. Anyway, it was prashadam, but, you know, just, we have to check ourselves out every once in a while. When you see you're kind of sliding over toward the too much sense gratification, you know, like a little bit of fire, fire's fire, you're going to get burnt, you know, move back. Krishna.